Man is rejected by his childhood friend after they joined university together. An audio story. The university campus buzzed with the vibrant energy of a new semester. Towering trees, their leaves a rich, deep green, lined the pathways winding between historic buildings. These structures, with their red-bricked exteriors covered in ivy, stood as silent witnesses to generations of students who had walked their halls. Students hurried along the paths, some with their heads buried in books, others chatting animatedly with friends. The sounds of laughter, snippets of conversation, and the distant hum of traffic melded with the occasional chirping of birds, creating a symphony of life and activity. It was a place where the past and present coexisted harmoniously, each corner brimming with stories and possibilities. In the midst of this bustling scene, we meet Alex. His dark hair was tousled, as if he had run his fingers through it one too many times, and his deep-set hazel eyes held a world of unspoken thoughts. Alex had a quiet, almost mysterious presence. He was thoughtful and kind, known for his introspective nature and quiet determination. However, today, an unusual tension replaced his usual calm demeanor. He walked with a slight hesitation in his step, as if each footfall brought him closer to an inevitable confrontation. Beside Alex walked Emily, his best friend and neighbor since childhood. They had grown up together, their houses side by side, and their friendship had only deepened over the years. From shared bike rides to secret hideouts, their bond had been a constant in both their lives. They had just started university a few months ago, excited for a new chapter together. Emily was a striking contrast to Alex. Her vibrant personality radiated outward, drawing people in effortlessly. She had striking features, piercing blue eyes, high cheekbones, and a smile that could light up the darkest room. With her radiant smile and magnetic presence, Emily was always the center of attention. Her laughter, a melodious and infectious sound, was a beacon that people flocked to. While Alex's presence was subtle, Emily's was impossible to ignore. As they strolled down the main path, the scent of freshly cut grass filled the air, mingling with the rich aroma of coffee drifting from the nearby campus cafe. Alex loved this time of year, when everything felt fresh and full of potential. Yet today, he was barely aware of his surroundings. His mind was consumed by the decision he had made. Today, he would confess his feelings to Emily, a decision that had taken months of soul-searching to reach. He had thought that starting university was the perfect time for a fresh start, and that included taking a chance on love. "Alex, are you okay?" Emily's voice broke through his reverie. Her eyes, usually sparkling with mischief, were now filled with concern. He forced a smile, nodding. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind." Emily gave him a playful nudge. "Well, whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be fine. You worry too much." Alex laughed, though it felt hollow. He wished he could share her optimism. They continued walking, the tension between them unnoticed by the students rushing past. Today was the day he would lay his heart bare, and the thought both terrified and exhilarated him. They reached the oak tree under which they often sat, its sprawling branches providing a canopy of shade. The bench there was a familiar spot, a place of countless shared conversations and moments. Alex's heart pounded as he sat down, Emily beside him, her chatter filling the space between them. As she talked about her latest adventure, a spontaneous road trip to the coast, Alex's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. He watched her animated gestures, her laughter ringing in his ears. For a moment, he wondered if he was making a mistake, if he should just leave things as they were. But then he remembered the countless nights he had spent lying awake, replaying every interaction, every shared moment, wishing for something more. "Emily," he interrupted gently, his voice trembling slightly, "there's something I need to tell you." Emily paused, her smile faltering slightly as she looked at him with curiosity. "What's up, Alex?" His heart felt like it was about to burst out of his chest. He took a deep breath, the words he had rehearsed so many times feeling heavy on his tongue. I have feelings for you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've felt this way for a long time, and now that we're in university, I thought maybe we could have a fresh start together." For a moment, there was only silence. The air between them seemed to grow thicker, the distant hum of student chatter fading into the background. Then Emily laughed. It was a cold, dismissive sound that echoed in Alex's ears, cutting through him like a knife. "Oh, Alex," she said, her tone light and nonchalant. "You're such a sweetheart, but we're just friends, you know that. We're in university now, and I want to meet new people and explore myself." Her words hung in the air, each one a blow to Alex's already fragile heart. He had imagined many outcomes, but this casual dismissal was not one of them. He forced a smile, trying to mask the pain that was threatening to overwhelm him. "Yeah, of course," he replied, his voice barely steady. "Just friends." Emily's laughter continued to ring in his ears as they sat in uncomfortable silence, the world around them continuing as if nothing had changed. But for Alex, everything had. The days following his confession to Emily were a blur of heartache and reflection for Alex. Each day felt heavier than the last, and the sting of her rejection lingered like a bitter taste in his mouth. He found himself replaying their conversation over and over, dissecting every word, every laugh. Each recollection sharpened the pain, but it also brought clarity. One evening, Alex sat in his dorm room, the soft glow of his desk lamp illuminating the scattered pages of his journal. He had taken to writing his thoughts down, hoping to find some solace in the act. As he flipped through the pages, the painful truth began to emerge with startling clarity. His relationship with Emily had always been one-sided. He recalled countless moments where he had gone out of his way for Emily, putting her needs above his own. The late-night phone calls when she needed a shoulder to cry on, the thoughtful gestures, and the unwavering support through her many ups and downs. He had been there for her through breakups, celebrated her successes, and had always been the first to cheer her up. But now, as he looked back, he realized how little she had reciprocated. Each memory brought a sense of betrayal, the once sweet scent of their shared experiences now tainted and sour. Determined to reclaim his sense of self, Alex decided to make some changes. The first step was to create some distance between himself and Emily. It wasn't an easy decision. Their lives had been intertwined for so long, but he knew it was necessary for his own well-being. He began to decline her invitations, making excuses to avoid their usual hangouts. Instead, he focused on activities that brought him joy and fulfillment. He started jogging every morning, the rhythm of his footsteps and the fresh morning air providing a sense of clarity and purpose. The campus, with its wide-open spaces and quiet paths, became his sanctuary. With each stride, he felt a little more in control, a little more himself. The physical exertion helped clear his mind, and the beauty of the early morning light filtering through the trees was a balm to his wounded heart. In addition to jogging, Alex threw himself into his studies. He found solace in the library, where the quiet atmosphere allowed him to concentrate fully. His grades improved, and with them, his confidence. He also reconnected with old friends, people he had neglected during his intense friendship with Emily. They welcomed him back with open arms, and he rediscovered the joy of genuine, balanced relationships. The sounds of laughter and chatter from these new friendships highlighted the void left by his toxic relationship with Emily. Slowly, the fog of his heartache began to lift. Alex found solace in the simple pleasures of life, a good book, a quiet afternoon in the park, the camaraderie of friends who truly cared for him. The once overpowering scent of betrayal and hurt was replaced by the fresh, invigorating aroma of new beginnings. One afternoon, as Alex sat on a bench near the campus pond, he watched the ducks glide across the water. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over everything. He took a deep breath, savoring the tranquility of the moment. He realized that he was no longer the same person who had confessed his love to Emily. He was stronger, more self-assured, and most importantly, he had learned to value himself. As weeks turned into months, Alex began to feel a change within himself. He was no longer defined by his relationship with Emily or the rejection that had once shattered his heart. He was his own person with his own dreams and aspirations. The journey had been painful, but it had also been necessary. Alex knew that he was on the path to healing, and that gave him hope for the future. The transformation was subtle but profound. The once persistent ache in his heart had dulled, replaced by a sense of peace. Alex had found a new rhythm to his life, one that did not revolve around Emily. He had learned to fight for himself, to prioritize his own happiness and well-being. Autumn had settled over the campus, painting the trees with hues of gold and crimson. The crisp air was invigorating, and the sky, a brilliant shade of blue, seemed to promise new beginnings. Alex found himself in the campus library more often these days, drawn to its quiet refuge and the comfort it provided. It was here, among the rows of books and the whisper of turning pages, that he met Sophie. Alex had come to the library for a quiet place to study. His usual spot, a secluded table near the philosophy section, was taken, so he wandered further into the labyrinth of shelves. He eventually found an empty seat across from a young woman who seemed deeply engrossed in her studies. She had a gentle smile that reached her warm, brown eyes, and a soothing presence that seemed to calm his restless heart. The scent of fresh rain and lavender seemed to follow her, bringing a sense of tranquility wherever she went. Her name was Sophie, and their first meeting was serendipitous, a chance encounter that felt like fate. She was scribbling furiously in a notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. Alex, looking for a quiet place to read, ended up sitting across from her. He hesitated for a moment, not wanting to disturb her, but the need for a peaceful spot to study was too strong. "Is this seat taken?" Alex asked, his voice gentle. Sophie looked up, her eyes meeting his. "No, please go ahead." As they settled into their respective studies, the library's soft murmurs provided a comforting backdrop. Alex found himself stealing glances at Sophie, intrigued by her focused intensity. After a while, Sophie looked up from her notes and caught Alex's gaze. She smiled, and it was as if a connection was made, an unspoken understanding that they were both seeking solace in the same quiet sanctuary. "What are you studying?" Sophie asked, her voice warm and inviting. "Philosophy," Alex replied, feeling a bit self-conscious. "I find it helps me make sense of things." Sophie nodded appreciatively. "I'm studying literature. There's something about losing myself in stories that I find comforting." They continued to chat, their conversation flowing naturally. Alex found himself drawn to Sophie's calm demeanor and thoughtful insights. She was different from anyone he had ever met, kind, empathetic, and genuinely interested in getting to know him. Over the next few weeks, their paths crossed more frequently, and each encounter deepened their bond. Sophie had a way of seeing the world that was both refreshing and comforting. She listened with empathy, offered support without judgment, and her laughter was a melody that brought lightness to Alex's days. They shared stories of their lives, their hopes, and their fears. For the first time in a long while, Alex felt a weight lifting off his shoulders. His heart, which had felt heavy with unspoken words and unfulfilled desires, began to lighten. One afternoon, as they walked through the campus gardens, the vibrant colors of autumn leaves crunching underfoot, Alex felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in months. Sophie's presence was a balm to his wounded heart, her kindness and understanding helping to mend the pieces of his broken heart. They paused by a bench overlooking the pond, the water reflecting the golden hues of the setting sun. "Thank you for being here," Alex said, his voice filled with gratitude. "I didn't realize how much I needed a friend like you." Sophie smiled, her eyes softening. "And I'm grateful to have met you, Alex. Sometimes, the right people come into our lives just when we need them the most." As they sat together, watching the ducks glide across the water, Alex felt a profound sense of healing. The pain of Emily's rejection, though still a part of his past, no longer defined him. With Sophie by his side, he began to see the possibilities of new beginnings and the promise of a future filled with genuine connections. For the first time in a long while, Alex felt hopeful. Each day spent with Sophie was a step towards healing, her presence a reminder that life had much to offer beyond the shadows of his past. While Alex was finding solace and new beginnings with Sophie, Emily's life took a different turn. The initial excitement of university life had started to wear off, and Emily began to feel the void left by Alex's absence. The parties, the new acquaintances, and the superficial connections started to feel empty. She missed the steady presence of her best friend, the one person who had always been there for her unconditionally. One evening, as Emily sat in her dorm room surrounded by the remnants of another social event, she felt an unfamiliar sense of loneliness. The artificial scent of her expensive perfume hung in the air, and the laughter from the hallway felt distant and hollow. She scrolled through her phone, her thumb pausing over Alex's name. She hadn't realized how much she had taken his friendship for granted until it was no longer there. Memories of their childhood flashed through her mind, the shared bike rides, the secret hideouts, the countless hours spent talking about their dreams and fears. She remembered how Alex had always been her rock, always supportive, always understanding. The realization hit her hard. She had been selfish and blind to his feelings and his worth. The next day, Emily wandered around the campus, lost in thought. She wasn't actively looking for Alex, but her mind was preoccupied with memories of him. As fate would have it, she spotted Alex sitting at a table near the window of the campus cafe. He was not alone. Sophie was with him, her presence radiating a calm and warm energy. They were laughing, sharing a moment that felt intimate and genuine. Emily hesitated, feeling a pang of jealousy and regret. But the realization of her loneliness and the emptiness of her recent social interactions compelled her to approach him. "Alex, can we talk?" she asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty and a hint of desperation. The atmosphere grew tense, the easy camaraderie between Alex and Sophie momentarily disrupted. Alex looked up at Emily, surprised to see her. He glanced at Sophie, who gave him an encouraging nod, and then stood up. "Sure, let's step outside," he said, his tone neutral. They walked out of the cafe and stood on the steps, the cool evening air wrapping around them. Emily took a deep breath, feeling awkward and unsure of how to begin. "Alex, I've missed you," she began, her voice shaky. "We've been friends for so long, and it feels strange not having you around. I know things got complicated, but I want to make things right." Alex listened, his expression unreadable. He had anticipated this moment, but hearing Emily's words stirred a mix of emotions within him. "I've been thinking a lot," Emily continued, her voice gaining a bit more confidence. "We had such a good thing going. Can we go back to the way things were? Can we be friends again?" Alex took a deep breath, his heart steady. He had rehearsed this moment in his mind countless times. His voice was firm and resolute as he responded. "Emily, I appreciate that you miss our friendship, but things can't go back to the way they were," he said, his words heavy with the weight of his journey. "Our relationship wasn't healthy for me. I've learned to fight for myself, to value myself in ways I never did before. I can't go back to being the person who was always there for you while you took me for granted." Emily's eyes filled with tears as she realized the depth of Alex's pain. "But you were the only one who liked me for being me. Everyone else just sees the surface. I miss having someone who really knows me." Alex felt a sense of liberation as he stood his ground. He had finally found the strength to put himself first, to stand firm in his decision. The air around them seemed to clear, the tension dissipating as he spoke his truth. "I'm not throwing anything away," he replied calmly. "I'm moving forward with my life. I found new friendships that are balanced and fulfilling. I found someone who truly cares about me for who I am. I hope you can understand that." Emily nodded slowly, wiping away her tears. "I understand, Alex. I really do. I'm sorry for everything. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone." "Goodbye, Emily," Alex said softly, turning away and walking back inside. The scent of freedom and new beginnings filled the air, mingling with the comforting aroma of coffee and the sounds of life moving forward. Alex walked back into the cafe, feeling a mixture of relief and resolve. The encounter with Emily had been emotional, but it had also reinforced his decision to move forward. He returned to the table where Sophie was waiting, her eyes filled with understanding and support. "Are you okay?" Sophie asked gently, reaching out to touch his hand. Alex nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. "Yeah, I think so. It was tough, but it needed to be done." Sophie squeezed his hand, her warmth providing comfort. "I'm proud of you, Alex. It takes a lot of strength to stand up for yourself." As they resumed their conversation, the weight of the past seemed to lift further off Alex's shoulders. With Sophie by his side, he felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. Days turned into weeks, and Alex's bond with Sophie grew stronger. They spent more time together, sharing their dreams, fears, and aspirations. Sophie had a way of making Alex feel seen and valued, something he had longed for in his friendship with Emily. Their connection was genuine and balanced, filled with mutual respect and care. One evening, as they walked through the campus gardens, Sophie paused and turned to Alex. "I know it's been a challenging time for you, but I'm glad we've found each other." Alex looked into her warm brown eyes, feeling a surge of gratitude. "Me too, Sophie. You've been a light in my life, and I can't thank you enough for that." They continued walking, the crisp autumn air filling their lungs and the sound of leaves crunching underfoot. Alex felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in a long time. His journey of self-discovery and healing had led him to this moment, and he was ready to embrace the future with open arms. One afternoon, as Alex was sitting in the library, his phone buzzed with a message from Emily. He hesitated before opening it, unsure of what to expect. The message was simple but heartfelt. "Alex, I just wanted to thank you for listening to me the other day. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I realize now how much I took our friendship for granted. I'm working on myself and trying to be a better person. I hope we can find a way to be friends again someday. Take care." Alex read the message several times, processing the emotions it stirred within him. He appreciated Emily's effort to reach out and acknowledge her mistakes. It was a step in the right direction, but he knew he needed to continue prioritizing his own well-being. Later that evening, Alex shared the message with Sophie as they sat together in his dorm room. Sophie listened thoughtfully, her eyes reflecting her support and understanding. "That's a positive step for her," Sophie said. "But remember, you need to do what's best for you." Alex nodded, feeling a sense of clarity. "I know. I want to keep moving forward and focus on the positive things in my life." Sophie smiled, wrapping her arm around his shoulder. "And I'll be here to support you every step of the way." As the days passed, Alex continued to thrive. He excelled in his studies, formed new friendships, and deepened his connection with Sophie. His journey had taught him the importance of self-worth and the value of genuine, balanced relationships. One sunny afternoon, Alex and Sophie sat on a bench overlooking the campus pond. The ducks glided gracefully across the water, and the gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming flowers. Alex took a deep breath, feeling a profound sense of contentment. "Life is good," he said, turning to Sophie with a smile. Sophie nodded, her eyes sparkling with affection. "Yes, it is, and it's only going to get better." Spring had arrived, breathing new life into the campus. The once bare trees were now covered in lush green foliage, and flowers bloomed in vibrant colors, painting the landscape with a sense of renewal and hope. The air was filled with the scent of fresh blossoms, and the sounds of laughter and chatter echoed through the university grounds as students enjoyed the warmer weather. Alex had embraced this season of new beginnings with open arms. His relationship with Sophie had flourished, growing stronger and more profound with each passing day. Their bond was built on mutual respect, understanding, and genuine care for one another. They supported each other's dreams and aspirations, finding joy in both the small and significant moments they shared. One sunny afternoon, Alex and Sophie decided to take a break from their studies and enjoy a picnic in the campus gardens. They spread out a blanket under the shade of a large oak tree, the same one where Alex had once confessed his feelings to Emily. This time, however, the memories associated with the place were different. They were filled with happiness and a sense of peace. As they unpacked their picnic basket, filled with an assortment of sandwiches, fruits, and Sophie's homemade cookies, they chatted about their plans for the future. "Have you thought about what you want to do after graduation?" Sophie asked, taking a bite of her sandwich. Alex nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I have. I've been considering a few options, but I'm leaning towards pursuing a career in philosophy, maybe even teaching. I love the idea of inspiring others and helping them find their path." Sophie smiled, her eyes reflecting her admiration for Alex's passion. "I think you'd make an amazing teacher, Alex. You have a way of seeing the world that's both insightful and inspiring." "And what about you?" Alex asked, looking at Sophie with genuine interest. "What are your plans?" Sophie's face lit up with excitement. "I've been thinking about writing, maybe even publishing a book someday. I've always loved stories, and I want to create ones that can touch people's hearts." Alex reached out and took Sophie's hand, squeezing it gently. "I believe in you, Sophie. You have a gift with words, and I know you'll create something amazing." As they sat together, sharing their dreams and aspirations, Alex felt a profound sense of contentment. He had come a long way from the heartache and confusion of the previous year. He had learned to value himself and prioritize his well-being, and in doing so, he had found a relationship that was truly fulfilling. Later that evening, as the sun began to set, Alex and Sophie walked hand in hand through the campus. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, and the air was filled with the sounds of crickets and the gentle rustling of leaves. They paused by the campus pond, watching the ducks glide across the water. "This place holds so many memories," Alex said, his voice filled with reflection. "Some painful, but many beautiful ones too." Sophie nodded, leaning her head on his shoulder. "It's a reminder of how far we've come and how much we've grown." Alex smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "And I wouldn't change a thing. Every experience, every challenge has led me to this moment, and I'm so grateful for that." As they stood there, bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun, Alex felt a sense of closure. The past, with all its heartache and lessons, had shaped him into the person he was today. But it was the future that held his attention now, a future filled with love, growth, and endless possibilities. With Sophie by his side, Alex knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Their journey was just beginning, and it was one filled with promise and hope. Years passed, and the memories of university life gradually blended into the rich tapestry of Alex's experiences. He had graduated with honors and pursued a career in philosophy, just as he had envisioned during those spring days with Sophie. Now, he stood in front of a classroom filled with eager young minds, inspiring them to think deeply and critically about the world around them. Sophie, true to her word, had become a published author. Her first book, a poignant collection of short stories, had received critical acclaim, touching the hearts of readers around the world. She continued to write, each new work a testament to her creativity and her passion for storytelling. Alex and Sophie had built a life together, their bond growing stronger with each passing year. They had moved into a charming apartment in the city, its walls adorned with memories of their journey, photographs of their travels, framed articles celebrating Sophie's literary achievements, and Alex's academic accolades. The apartment was filled with the comforting sense of fresh flowers and Sophie's homemade cookies, a constant reminder of the warmth and love that defined their home. One sunny afternoon, Alex sat at his desk, grading papers, while Sophie worked on her latest manuscript. The light streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow over their cozy living space. A gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming jasmine from the garden below, mingling with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. As Alex finished grading the last paper, he glanced over at Sophie, who was deep in thought, her fingers dancing across the keyboard. He couldn't help but smile, feeling a profound sense of gratitude for the life they had built together. He stood up and walked over to her, placing a gentle kiss on the top of her head. Sophie looked up and smiled, her eyes sparkling with love. "Finished grading already?" Alex nodded. "Yep, all done. How's the new manuscript coming along?" Sophie sighed contentedly. "It's coming along well. I'm really excited about this one. It feels special." Alex sat down beside her, taking her hand in his. "Everything you write is special, Sophie. You have a way of touching people's hearts." Sophie blushed slightly, squeezing his hand. "Thank you, Alex. Your support means everything to me." As they sat there, enjoying the simple pleasure of each other's company, Alex reflected on how far they had come. Their journey had been filled with challenges and heartache, but it had also been marked by growth, love, and new beginnings. He thought about the young man he had been in university, unsure and struggling with unrequited love, and felt a deep sense of pride in the person he had become. The sound of laughter from the children playing in the park below drifted up through the open window, adding to the serene atmosphere. Alex and Sophie often talked about starting a family of their own someday, a prospect that filled them with excitement and anticipation. They knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together, their bond unbreakable.